All right, last class we stopped with just distribute. But really, if the question asks you to simplify, there are two things you need to think of every time that's the question. So if you see the instruction, simplify, really that means you first need to distribute, but only if there's parentheses in the question. Because remember, the point of distributing is to get rid of the parentheses. After you distribute, the rest of simplifying means you need to combine your like terms. Sometimes all you can do is distribute, and sometimes all you can do is combine like terms. But if your instructions tell you to simplify, you have to check for both. So really all we're doing today is we're not going to learn anything new. We're going to combine what we learned about distribute and about what we learned with combine like terms, and we're just going to put it all together, all right? So in this very first question, after I distributed, I ended up with negative 2x plus 6. Now when we talked about like terms, we talked about that they have to have the same variables with the same exponents. Here I have two terms. My first term is negative 2x. My second term is a positive 6. Remember how we talked about terms are separated by plus and minus signs? Negative 2x and plus 6 are not like terms because they don't have the same variable. So this question has no like terms, and there's nothing else I can do. So negative 2x plus 6 is my answer. So in that particular question, when you were asked to simplify, the only thing you could do is distribute. Now in the next question, there are 4 terms. One term is 5x, one term is negative 20, one term is a positive 2x, and one term is a negative 3. I have 2 sets of things I can combine here because I have 2 pieces with an x and 2 terms that are just values. So I'm going to combine 5x with plus 2x, and then after that, I'm going to combine minus 20 with minus 3. All right? So we're going to take and we are going to put together the 5x and the plus 2x can be combined, and the negative 20 and the negative 3 can be combined. So we're going to group those together. All right? 5x plus 2x is equal to 7x because 5 and 2 is 7, and you just keep the x. Negative 20 and negative 3 combine to a larger negative 23 value. All right? When you have 2 negative numbers and they're both negative, they're the same sign, you add the numbers and keep the sign. All right? We're just getting bigger negative. The next question has 3 terms. I have a term that's 3, a plus 2x, and a minus 10. All right? So when I take these together, I can put 2 of them together, but the other one just kind of stays. So when I group them, I can group the 3 and the minus 10, but the 2x has nothing to group with because it has an x and nothing else does. So when I come over here, the like terms are 3 and negative 10, and the 2x's is an own group by itself. 3 and negative 10 I can think is 3 minus 10. If you subtract 10 from 3, you end up at negative 7, and my positive 2x stays. All right? The next one also has 3 terms, a 2, a minus 1x, and a plus 5. The only 2 there that I can put together are the 2 and the 5. So when I group them, I have a 2 and a positive 5 and a negative 1x on its own. 2 plus 5 is 7, minus 1x stays. All right? This next one also has 3 terms, 2/3 x plus 2/3 minus 5. Okay? When I group them, I can group this 2/3 and this minus 5. Now, a lot of people want to group 2/3 x and 2/3 because they're both fractions. We don't care what the number is. When we talk about like terms, we're only looking at what's behind it. So I've heard some people say it has to have the same last name. The last name of this first 2/3 is x. The second 2/3 doesn't have an x, so it cannot go with it. So when we group them, we have a 2/3 x on its own, and then we have a 2/3 minus a 5. All right? So 2/3 x will stay. 2/3 minus 5. When you subtract fractions, you have to give them a common denominator. We can change minus 5 into minus 15 thirds. All right, and if that's confusing for you, ask your teacher and we'll make sure we teach you that. But then you're going to keep the 3 on the bottom and you're just going to do the operation with the top. So 2 minus 15. 2 minus 15 is a minus 13. So I have minus 13 thirds. All right, the next one is 3 terms, a 2, a negative 1x, and a positive 9. When I group, the 2 will group with the 9, and the negative 1x will stay on its own. So I have a 2, a positive 9, and a negative 1x that's kind of alone. 2 plus 9 is 11, carry the minus 1x. Okay? The next one has a term here, a term of minus 2x, term of minus 2, a term of 5x, and a term of minus 4. When I group these, I'm going to take the 3 first. The 3 groups with this minus 2 and this minus 4. And those 3 values group together because neither of them have x's. So I have one group that is a 3 minus a 2 minus a 4. My next group is made up of all the x pieces. So minus 2x and plus 5x. Because they both have an x, they can go together. So minus 2x and a plus 5x. All right, so 3 minus 2 is 1. Then the 1 minus 4 leaves me with negative 3. Negative 2x's plus 5x's is positive 3x pieces, okay? Okay, now the next one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms, all right? 5 terms. Now, the first term is negative 1yx. Nothing else has 1yx, and it cannot group with this one here because 1yx and yx squared are not the same. So you have one group with a negative 1yx, another group with a positive 1yx squared, and then when you come over here, you can group this 10 and this 7. So we're going to group those together. So the 10, negative 10, and positive 7. Those can be grouped. The 2x also can't be grouped with anything because it is on its own just with an x, right? Okay, so we're going to keep negative 1yx. We're going to keep plus 1yx squared. We're going to combine this negative 10 and this positive 7 to minus 3 and keep plus 2x. Okay, the next one has a term negative 3x squared plus 12 plus 2 minus 5 plus 1x. It's a lot of pieces. First, negative 3x squared. That cannot be grouped with anything because it's an x squared and nothing else is an x squared. The next thing we have is a plus 12. That plus 12 can be grouped with the 2 and the negative 5 because those are all just numbers. So we're going to group 12, plus 12, plus 2, and minus 5. All right? The plus 1x also can't go with anything because it is just an x, not an x squared. So it can't be grouped either. So our answer is going to have negative 3x squared. 12 plus 2 is 14. 14 minus 5 is 9. So we have plus 9 and keep plus 1x. Okay? The next group, the next question, we have a 1x squared term, a minus 5/3 xy, plus 1/2 x squared, and minus 6. The only things we can group together here are the 1x squared and the plus 1/2 x squared. And the only reason those are the only things we can group is because they both have x squared, okay? So when we make our groups, we have a 1x squared plus a 1/2 x squared. That's one group. This minus 5/3 xy stays alone, and the minus 6 stays alone. All right, 1 plus 1/2 is 1 1/2. So we can say it's 1.5 or 1 1/2 or 3/2, however you want to write it. X squared minus 5/3 xy stays and minus 6 stays. All right, last one. The very last one we have has a term negative 1x squared, a term plus 3x, a term minus 2, a term minus 1x squared, and a term plus 4x, okay? We are going to group the negative 1x squared with the negative 1x squared. We're also going to group the plus 3x and the plus 4x, all right? So I have negative 1x squared with negative 1x squared.
Aaliyah, warmly, your
Hang on
bus
just
is
a second.
waiting for you in the back. Aaliyah, warmly, your bus is waiting for you in the back.
All right, a plus 3x and a plus 4x, and then a minus 2 by itself. So these x squareds are grouped, the x's are grouped, and the minus 2 hangs out. Negative 1x squared plus negative 1x squared keeps x squared. Negative 1 minus 1 more is negative 2. Plus 3 and plus 4 is a positive 7. Keep the x. And minus 2 to end it. And that's the end of our notes today.